Hello, I don't know if I'm coming through yet. Uh, Hello, I'm not sure if I'm coming through yet. Let me know. I'm getting mixed signals from the software. Okay, I'm getting the word that I'm live. Okay, so we'll begin. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So today's session completes this series on the various realms of the cosmos. We've gone through the various realms of the sense desire level and the level of form. That leaves us just the formless realm, the arupa bhumi. Now that's again another another quantum shift from the rupa bhumi, the realm of Brahmas, to the realm of the immaterial beings, also called four khanda beings, because they have only the mental aggregates. They are not possessed of materiality at all. They're mind without matter. So it's very difficult for us to even imagine them. In the whole rest of the cosmos, normally mind and matter are intimately related. But there is, besides this whole realm of immaterial beings, there's one other case where mind is disassociated from body, and that's at the moment of death and rebirth. That mind is the mental aggregates are something totally separate in essence from materiality. But in our lives, ordinarily mind and matter interact continually. So it's difficult for us to imagine a being that's pure mind only. There was in early Buddhism, there was a debate about the nature of this realm, and we have a record of that in the Katawatu, the book of debates. That some schools held that mind and matter are always coexisting, codependent, and that the immaterial realm is only called that as a convention, that these beings actually have a subtle form of materiality. But the Theravada position was no, they took the Buddha at his plain word that these are four khanda beings, that they're immaterial beings. They have no association with matter. The beings of the Brahma world in the Rupa Bhumi, their bodies are said to be manomaya, mind-made. So they're already more subtle than our bodies, which are built up of food. But the beings of the immaterial realm their bodies are said to be sanyamaya, made by perception. And each of the four grades within the Arupa Bhumi represents a more subtle form of perception. It's the kind of the key to understanding this realm, is this aggregate of sanya. There are 4 levels here. The first is the realm of boundless space. So this realm still has a very tenuous connection to materiality, because space itself is a container for material things. It has it very very roughly could be classed within the Rupa Kanda. Could mention also here that there was another debate in early Buddhism about the nature of space. The Sarvastivadins and some other schools held that space is unconditioned, whereas the Theravada held that only nibbana is unconditioned. They held to the purity of that there is no unconditioned element other than nibbana. And they said space is either conditioned or unreal. It's conditioned in trivial cases, like when you dig a hole to to start a well. You dig a hole in the earth. Obviously, that you create a space in the earth, and obviously that space is conditioned. It's conditioned by your labor with the shovel. But space as an abstract concept, they said, is nothing but a convention. It's a mental construction that has no basis in reality. It's just a way that we use in our minds to place objects at a certain distance. One object may be so many yojanas away from another object, and we call that the space in between, but there's actually no reality there. There's only these locations. So the realm of boundless space, the perception is of space without limit. The next most subtle level is the level of boundless consciousness, without reference to space. It's to see mind or consciousness without boundary. Now the word here, both for boundless space and boundless consciousness, is apamana, without boundary, without limit, without a defined edge. It's not exactly the same as infinite. It's kind of left as an open question whether space is infinite or not, but it's boundless. And the same could be said for consciousness. It's possible, it has been suggested, excuse me, that the Upanishadic idea of the one mind, that Atman equals Brahman, is derived from yogis having accessed the state of boundless consciousness. The third level is the level of nothingness, akinchayatana. Akincha is no thing, or objectlessness. So even the concept of consciousness is not attended to here, and there's a perception of no thing at all. The fourth level is the most subtle and the most difficult for us to wrap our heads around, is the level of neither perception nor non-perception, where even the concept of nothingness falls away. It's probably best not to attempt to understand this concept in a purely intellectual way, because the name is really just an attempt to put a label on that which is really undescribable. But there is a passage in the commentaries that tries to make some sense of it through similes. It says that there is still a very subtle perception, but you can't call it either perception or non-perception, and it uses a simile of uh, a monk and a novice are going on alms round, and they come across a puddle of water, and the novice says to the monk, "Be careful, Bante. There is water here." And the monk says, "Oh, there is water here. Would you be so good as to fill up my water flask?" And the novice says, "Bante, there is no water here." So there's neither water nor not water. As I said, it's not the best way to approach these levels by trying to comprehend them with the rational or intellectual mind, but to try and at least glimpse them. It may be thought that these are very esoteric and far away, and that would be maybe the case if we're talking about a mastery of these levels. But I think it's within the range of most meditators to be able to at least get a glimpse of these realms, to have some experiential framework into which to place them. And there are different ways mentioned in the suttas for accessing this realm with the mind. One that is spoken of is to begin with the practicing of metta or other Brahma Viharas and extend the metta to the whole universe, to the 10 directions of space, and then to make the transition of ceasing to pay attention to the metta and pay attention only to space. And then you're glimpsing the idea of boundless space, and at that point consciousness is filling space. So drop away the perception of space and you're left with consciousness. Then drop away your attention from consciousness and you're left attending to nothing at all. Then drop away the concept of nothingness, and you're left with the most subtle reality of neither perception nor non-perception. I think you could say this, that this state of neither perception or non-perception is samsara at its bare minimum. One is not in nibbana, is not experiencing the unconditioned, but most of samsaric baggage has dropped away. If the mind moves from the sense desire realm to the realm of form, then sensuality drops away. And going from first level to second level within the realm of form, thought conception drops away. So we're simplifying as we ascend through the realms, we're actually simplifying, becoming more pure, pristine. And then when you enter the realm of the formless, then materiality drops away. So there's no burden of matter. The beings that are reborn into this realm have very long lifespans that are measured in thousands of kappas. And as I said, it's very difficult for us to imagine their existence. They have no contact with the outside universe whatsoever because they have no physical form for through which senses can operate. They have only the mental aggregates. So it's said, for example, on occasions, there's a few occasions when the Buddha gives a discourse for the Dewas, and Dewas come from thousands of world systems and great concourses of Dewas to hear his sermon. But the Dewas of the immaterial realm do not. It was thought by some yogis in India before and during the Buddha's time that these realms represented the highest possible attainment. And we have in the Buddha's biography, before his enlightenment, he had one teacher who took him in practice up to the realm of nothingness, and then another teacher who took him as far as neither perception or non-perception. And both of these thought this was the supreme attainment, but the Buddha, or the Bodhisattva, we should say, with his keen superior mind, discerned that this is not the end. This is still some trace of samsaric existence here. So that would be a very unusual individual who would be able to be immersed in those realms, have mastery of those realms, and be able to discern that this is not the end of the path. So, as I said, we finished our discussion of the different realms, and just a general recap. We can divide these realms into three broad categories: the realm of sense, which is the most diverse and complex, and ranges from the hell realms up to the Deva realms. Then we have the realm of form, which encompasses the Brahmas and the Pure Lands. And today we've talked about the formless realms. So that concludes this series, and I'm not going to be giving any of these streams for a month. I'm going into retreat for the month of April, so I won't be coming back to join you again until May. So this will be the last one for a little while. And let's see what we've got in the chat. Venerable Ajahn, we know from the suttas that the origin of rupa is nama. It is a duality, but what is the origin of akasa dhatu? As I said, in Theravada view, there is no such thing as akasa dhatu. It's just a mental convention. It's just a way we use to describe the distance between objects. The water story reminds me of Zen proverbs. They usually carry a deep teaching on non-duality. Next question. There's talk of aether and aesthetic field. Could this be the non-material realm in which these Brahmas persist? No, I don't think so, because ether or aether is a concept from pre-modern physics of a subtle material in space that was held to be the medium in which light waves move. But these realms are described as being entirely non-material. The Theravada, at least, rejected the concept of any kind of subtle materiality for these realms. They're just pure mind. Next, can a being make merit in these worlds? If not, would it make sense to not want to be born in these realms, leaving the vast time one is stuck here and then go back to samsara? Yeah, it seems there's no way that a being could make merit in these worlds because they have no interaction with any other being or any other part of the universe. Um, it's just like a long, long time out, really. Okay, thank you. People are wishing me a good retreat. What's the best way to not return here? Um, Practice the Eightfold Path, which means first of all keep your morality clean, and then beyond that, practice meditation and develop insight and see the nature of reality and see the nature of samsara deeply. Can you explain the main difference between Thai forest tradition and that of other Theravada traditions, such as Sri Lankan or Burmese? Um, yeah, there's no difference in terms of basic understanding, but there's difference of approach for sure. Even within Thailand, there are different schools, different strains. The Thai forest tradition uh, generally places a lot of emphasis on Vinaya, the monks keeping a good adherence to the rules. And in terms of the meditation, um, a lot of it is based on the one hand, anapanasati, sometimes using the mantra Buddho, but also the subtle practice of centering the mind on the chitta. Whereas Burmese tradition, there's a lot of emphasis on abhidhamma and rigorous disciplined forms of vipassana meditation. Sri Lanka, there's very often a scholarly approach. They're very versed in the suttas and commentaries. Can you explain a bit about Naroda Sahampati? Naroda Samapati. Is this the end goal? It is a state of mind that's sometimes listed as beyond the four immaterial states. If there's a list of the 8 jhanas, which includes the 4 arupa jhanas, and then Naroda Sampati is tacked on at the end. It's a state of mind that's a cessation of consciousness and perception. It's really what it is. Basically, is an experiential or phenomenological entrance into nibbana while alive. So it's really only accessible by arahants and anagamis. Can a pure mind see future events that haven't occurred yet? Sometimes there can be prognostications of the future. I don't believe the future is fixed, but there can be kind of ripples in time and warnings. Why is a body required to reach enlightenment? Is it because only a body can carry the fire of tanha, and it is this precise fire that must be extinguished to reach the state of nibbana. I think that's a way of expressing it. It's not possible for these beings in the formless realm to attain nibbana. I would like express it in this way, that they can't really see dukkha. So they can't really penetrate the nature of reality. Whereas in the body, we have the senses, and we have pleasure and pain, and we have something to work with. Samsara is more coarse and it gives us some fodder for examination. I have heard some monks say Abhidhamma was not taught by Buddha, but is something that was created by his disciples after he died. Why is there controversy around this? Yeah, it is a controversial point. The traditional account of the origin of Abhidhamma is that when the Buddha went up to Tawatingsa heaven for one rainy season and he taught the deities there, every day he would come back to earth for his alms round and he would give Sariputta a summary of what he taught the day was. And Sariputta carried that, formalized that, and it became the Abhidhamma. So in that would mean it's a kind of a watered down summary of what the Buddha taught the day was, dumbed down for human consumption, you might say. That's a very colorful, romantic story, but I have to say that critical historical look at the Abhidhamma, it does seem to be later than the Buddha's time. We can say this because of the 18 schools of early Buddhism. What we have surviving of their literature, the suttas tend to agree with each other very closely, the Sutta Pitaka, but the Abhidhamma is not. I think it's likely that the Abhidhammas were developed by the different schools of Buddhism as kind of a manifesto. Like, this is how we understand it. This is how we fill in the gaps and deal with the obscure points. Next one. I'm trying to appreciate how rare a Buddha is. We are lucky that 5 Buddhas will appear in this kalpa. What is the longest duration of time between 2 Buddhas? Could it be 4 incalculable and 100,000 great kalpas, instead of the time Shakyamuni spent in the Bodhisattva path after receiving his prediction from the Dikampara Buddha? There are long periods of time of many. It seems to be there's no real pattern. There's a what would you call it? A table or a list of the gaps between Buddhas in the broader cosmos, and there can be thousands of kappas go by with no Buddha, and then a Buddha appears, and sometimes there's up to 5 Buddhas in a kappa. That's the maximum. So that's called a fortunate aeon if we have 5 Buddhas. But the most kappas have no Buddhas. Next question. If there is no akasa dhatu, this contradicts with a lot of the Sutta and Buddha words, for example, Utu Vibhanga Sutta, and the concept of infinite space itself. I'd have to examine that text, and I don't recall what it says about dhatu, akasa dhatu. I guess that, yeah, there is the 4 elements, sometimes expanded to 6, which includes consciousness element and space element. When that's applied to the body, the space element is things like the empty space in your belly or in your ears, for example. So that would be that type of conditioned space that does have a reality. It's determined by the boundaries of the matter around it. But the idea of space as an abstract concept out in the universe was said to be unreal in the Abhidhamma. I remember you saying that you prefer the Mahasi method for beginners to Vipassana. Are there advantages to this, for example, versus the Goenka method? Um, well, it's difficult for me to really say that, uh, to judge that, because I've not really formally done Goenka method or studied it in detail. I know about it kind of secondhand. I did practice Mahasi for quite a long time, and I'm very familiar with it. It appeals to me because it's a very disciplined kind of introspection. It's looking at the objects of consciousness and training oneself to observe the objects of consciousness in a clear, precise way. And it's quite likely that other methods of vipassana reach the same end. But as I say, I'm not in a position to compare and contrast, really. Is there even a world lotus at the beginning of a kappa destined to lack a Buddha, or is it just not bloom? Um, there's a lotus plant appears, but uh, it has no buds. It's just the leaves. If there's no Buddha, then it's just a barren plant. If formless being cannot see or hear anything, so they can't study or hear the Dhamma, correct? Yes, that's true. Can they access it through consciousness? They would only be able to access through consciousness what is created when they're within their own mind. They have no connection to the outside world. So they live entirely within their own mind. So it's really difficult, if not impossible, for us to imagine what that experience is like. Because for example, in our human realm, the products of our thought and imagination, our dreams even, are based on experiences of the senses. Is astrology forbidden by Buddhism? No, it is forbidden for monks to make a living by practicing astrology. It's not suitable as a practice for monks to attempt to get lay followers and so on by doing horoscopes. But it's not forbidden. It's somewhat dismissed in some passages as being empty and not as a kind of a low art without any real sense to it. There is one Jataka story. Oh no, it's a Dhammapada story, I think, about a, a man who practiced by position of the stars. Well, it's an incident in the story. It's kind of an amusing story about a young fellow who makes a fortune from being very poor. He makes a fortune because and the way it starts out, he's in the street, and there's a learned astrologer who's looking at the ground, and he looks at the sky, and he says aloud, by the position of the stars, I can tell if any fellow came along and picked up this dead mouse, he could make a fortune. So he goes and picks up the dead mouse, and he takes it to a tavern, and he sells it to the tavern keeper for a farthing as food for his cat. Then he takes the farthing and he buys some straw, and he sells it somewhere else, and he keeps like gradually increasing his fortune until he's this wealthy multimillionaire. I have a very early dream in which I was a sphere going from one extreme to the other in the universe. I do remember some winged dragon-like creatures. Could this be the formless realm? No, it wouldn't. If there were winged dragon creatures, it wouldn't be the formless realm. There are no forms there. In eons without Buddhas, are there Pachika Buddhas? There can be, yes. It's possible. They only occur in periods when there are no Buddhas. Okay. So, as I say, we won't be doing any of these discussions in April. I'll be back in May. You'll see the notification on the YouTube. I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet. We'll see. Okay, another question just popped in here. Let's see. Computer's acting up on me here. Okay, here it is. Buddhism coexists with folk beliefs and practices. No, it just dropped out. Message retracted. Okay. Okay, so I'll leave it there, and we'll see you again in a month.